Jesus, when addressing the question of anxiety, gave this parable. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? And so, one of the concerns in Jesus' day and age was clothing, and I'm sure it is today, but in a different way. And he also addresses concerns about, food and lodging and so forth like that. We have much more complex anxieties today than they did back then. But anxiety continues to be an issue. We really are beyond that certain level where we must be desperately afraid that we're going to starve to death very soon, and be thrown out of our houses. That's fairly uncommon. But worry seems to be almost more pernicious now than it was. We are constantly surrounded with social media that seems to interrupt our peace and calm. We are constantly being alerted to threats to our freedom, threats to our world and the environment, threats to all kinds of things are constantly being thrown at us. And this definitely throws us off of our ability to remain centered and calm and deal with issues one at a time. When Jesus sums up this, he says, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today." And so he doesn't say, well, just don't worry, be happy, everything's going to be fine. That is not Jesus' approach to the thing. But he does want us to not worry about things that we, first of all, cannot control. Recognize that God has control over many of the things that we cannot control. And therefore, we can trust that God is working on these matters, even if we can't touch them. What we can control is not being worried about things that we can't control. That we can do. And what he advises here is that we let tomorrow worry about itself, and we worry about what we need to worry about right now, today. And by worry, I don't quite mean the same thing as this anxiety. To me, anxiety is when you're, like in a rocking chair and you're just moving back and forth constantly, but you're not really getting anywhere. When we consider an issue, a problem, and we are working around in our mind how to fix it, well, that's not a negative thing. That's a good thing. We should be doing that. But when we just continually go over the same issues in our mind, coming to no particular resolution, and just going around and around and around, that's a very negative experience. We wouldn't want to wish that on our worst enemy, that kind of constant anxiety and fear and going around. Instead, what we want to do is focus in on what we can accomplish, on what is good in our lives, because when we see what is good, we see more of what is good, and when we see what is bad or could go wrong, we see more of what is bad or could go wrong. So it's best for us to concentrate on what is good and what we can control, and allow the peace that passes understanding to guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus.